Hey, there's a dragonfly that just flew in here. Hello.
Oh, no kidding. It just ran into
I thought you were using that as an example of like, yes, I see a dragonfly.
And
I look
here
at
it
it.
came.
That's a good omen.
Discover your path to leadership excellence at the FMA annual meeting, February 25th to the 27th in Chandler, Arizona. This premier event offers a unique opportunity to connect with prominent figures in the fabrication and metals industries, enabling the exchange of ideas, collaborative solutions to business challenges, and the cultivation of strategic relationships. Visit fmamfg.org for all the details.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis of the Fabricator magazine. Thanks for joining us. We have a good conversation with Sarah Stork, a metal artist, coming up. But first, we have a blast from the past. It's Jordan Yost, a Precision Tube laser. How's it going, Jordan?
Going great. Happy to be here. Glad it's going on.
Yeah, we had a blast on episode 21 back in May of 2023. So
I was going to say that. I knew that.
This is like 50 episodes later. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I was going to say.
Is it really 50 episodes?
Yeah, that's been crazy.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we chatted with you at the FMA annual meeting in Las Vegas last year or 2 years ago?
2023. Yeah.
Oh, geez, man. All right, yeah, I didn't know what episode this was, obviously.
So that, well, I guess it would have been like what, February, early March 2023?
Yeah, probably late February.
Yeah.
Yeah. And learned all about you, your business, getting it started. Company name, and one of those rare instances kind of describes what your company kind of does. And you were kind enough to bring us some gifts. So before we start, how's things going with the business?
Business is great. You know, we're continuing to evolve and figure out, strategy-wise, what's our next move, what new pieces of equipment we want to get involved in, and that's always tough. Obviously it's a tremendous amount of expense, and you want to make sure that you bring in something that supplements some of the current things you're offering.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always a struggle. That's why we love coming to FABTECH, because you get to see it all in one place,
right.
and you get a chance to be exposed to just so many different options and opportunities, and it's really cool to be hands-on in this type of experience.
Awesome. And you know what you're doing. This is Exhibit A. You brought us a gift for the Fabricator Podcast studio. Can you kind of explain what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what you're looking at, to be honest with you. This was a creation that I made a couple of weeks ago. I was actually listening to one of the podcasts, and I was looking at your table, your coffee table there that the DeVito brothers made, and I was like, you know what? That is missing a centerpiece. So I had an idea of something that I wanted to construct, that looked like a continuous tube.
Correct.
But also show off some of the features of the tube laser. One of the things that, again, I'm a big believer in is as much as cutting material is our business, educating is our business, and utilizing the technology and the features that are available. And this one has a tongue and groove feature, much like on woodworking, that's on the inside edge of all of these miters.
Okay.
And it's a way that it allows it to not only stay in orientation, but keep it from getting out of whack when you're welding it up. We all know stainless is going to twist and warp and move. And so it was just a way of finding a logical explanation for using something like this. So, and it turned out to be a one-of-a-kind piece. So
yeah, I mean,
you guys have one of one.
It's kind of a fairly complete look. I didn't realize there was the interior locking mechanism to kind of keep its shape as you described while you're putting the heat to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of details to it. The more you stare at it, the more you go,
right.
Is that what
well
is
is awesome too.
Yeah, so I had a buddy of mine, our welder, Kevin Shanahan out of Las Vegas. He welded up for me. I sent him one originally, and he started putting it together, and he was like, I need some help on this one. So went over and helped him out, got it all lined up, and it turned out great.
It's smooth.
Really captured the vision that I had. There's so many times where you create something in a 3D world, and it never works in reality, and it's a waste of time. And the unfortunate side of this, in order to get it correct, you got to commit to the whole project. So if you're off at all on your tolerances or the way that you've designed it, it's not going together. So it turns into a bunch of junk.
How many welds were needed to pull everything together?
On this, there's actually only a handful of welds within the center section
okay,
itself.
yeah.
Everything else is as is off the laser. So
Awesome.
any of the arcs or the tubes, only where it comes together on the connections are there any welding that needs to be done. So yeah, it's a pretty incredible piece.
Yeah, that's
So-
beautiful. So that's not the only thing.
Brought a skull.
Yeah. I think you went on a vacation in Hawaii and found that in a cave.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Are we like cursed now?
I have a fascination with shrunken heads. So
Right.
So explain to everybody what exactly we're looking at, because it's not what I initially thought. It looked 3D printed from like a little bit of a distance.
yeah, it also looks like a rough machining.
Correct.
Like if
Yeah,
you just
yeah, yeah.
gave somebody an
Right.
idea of what something's supposed to look like. We just created a 3D model of basically a skeletal face, and then we layered it on and then created a mechanical locking mechanism with inside that allows it to go together and lock together without any welding.
Yeah.
Just something that we wanted to create, not only for fun. We
Yeah.
don't really create a lot of items that are taboo in the
Right,
sense
right,
of
right.
like skulls and crossbones
yeah.
and so it was really fun for like our team. Everybody that saw them was like,
Yeah.
I want one. I gotta have one.
I think it's fair to say everybody in the fab industry is fairly comfortable with a skull.
yeah, it's pretty common. We just wanted to do it a different way, and it's something that we brought here to FABTECH to give away, not only to our followers and people that have been paying attention to what we've been doing, and we're always trying to find ways to give back and put cool pieces in people's hands that they wouldn't normally either make or have access to.
Yeah. This thing's also weighs like 8 pounds too, right?
Yeah, it's heavy. It's
Legit.
It's like a
we
paperweight.
brought 7 of those on the flight, so that was
did
fun.
you?
Yeah.
One got flagged at TSA.
Yeah, one got flagged at TSA. They were a little surprised when that went rolling through, but it was fun to get him here. I didn't know
Don't
if we were
worry,
gonna
he's
do
in
it.
fabricating.
Right.
So don't worry, I'm an artist, which I never thought I'd say, but
Right. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Cool.
It's a great representation of kind of the abilities that your shop has, but also just what's capable with metal in general.
That's one thing that I'm a firm believer in is I like doing things that are good for the industry. I like pushing the industry forward. It doesn't just have to be about our shop or what our capabilities are. It's about pushing the limits and showing people that there's a lot of possibilities out there. Just got to think outside the box, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people rely on our company to do and showcase. Everybody's always looking for us to do the next viral thing, which is a lot of pressure on us, but it also creates some amazing pieces like this. And from the creative side, it allows us to get rid of that. We see so many parts come through our business every day that's just processing, right? We're just processing a customer's part and moving it out the door, and you get a lot of ideas or a lot of directions that you're like, I don't know how to use this, but I gotta figure out a way to make it into a physical form. Right. And again, we come up with stuff like this. So this was a fun project. I just thought it would be perfect for your guys' studio. You guys have done such a great job with the podcast, and I felt like you guys giving back to the fabricators and the machine shops that maybe somebody should give back to you.
Awesome.
So,
well, man, dude,
Yeah,
thanks for keeping us
that's
in
how you
mind.
connected with the DeVito brothers too, right?
We connected with the DeVito brothers actually beginning in our career, and it just at some point it needed to really work out, for all of us, that it made sense for them, that their business was scaling at a rate that they could utilize tube laser cutting. And now those boys they're locked in, and I mean they're creating some incredible stuff, some higher production rate stuff, and it's really fun to work with them. They're great guys.
Well, that's cool. Well, this is actually the perfect segue into Sarah's episode, because she's very detailed in terms of some of the sculptures she's put together. So thank you very much, Jordan. Please stay tuned and watch this episode with Sarah Stork. I think you'll enjoy it.
For over 3 decades, Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs has been empowering the next generation. Through youth manufacturing camps, inclusion initiatives, and student scholarships, NBT has inspired young minds to embrace the limitless possibilities of modern manufacturing. As this dynamic industry continues to evolve, so does NBT. Something big is coming, and we can't wait to share it with you.
Hello, Sarah Stork. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. New co-host today, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Great.
Lindsay Luminoso from Canadian Fabricating and Welding, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
So Sarah had to remind me that I wrote a story involving her for the Fabricator almost 5 years ago, 4 or 5. No, we're still in 2024. So like maybe.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID.
Oh yeah. So and it's funny. Like while I didn't remember it, like I know your current work still because you're doing some really like realistic type sculptures. But before we get into that, like, can you give us an idea of how you got involved in welding?
Oh, like how I decided that I was going to be an artist?
Yeah. Like, what was your first introduction to welding in general?
Well, I mean, my husband, he has a weld drilling business, and part of what he does, he has to do welding, and I wanted to learn something that would help him. And so going to the classes at the community college level, that's where the instructor asked me to make a sculpture for Skills USA. And so I took that to nationals twice, 2015 and 2016, and got the silver and gold.
Wow.
So from that point forward, I decided that making sculptures at home was a possibility.
Yeah. What did you do that first for the Skills USA entries?
My very first sculpture,
Yeah.
It's a longhorn bull.
Wow.
Not a steer, but a bull.
Wow. So do you like doing the animal forms?
Yeah, I do like working with the animal forms. It's easy to research for pictures on the internet, and I can make them more, pretty realistic. I mean, working with people's faces, I don't know how well that would turn out. Maybe scary, who knows?
Maybe you need to work with faces like mine that look like a rock. Do you what was the learning like in terms of welding? What did you feel like you had to get right first before you really had the ability to kind of create something that would replicate something you would see in real life?
I mean, are you wanting to know like how I learned to use the machines?
Yeah, like in terms, was it MIG that really opened the door to saying like, wow, I can do this, or did you have to learn something else?
Well, when I went to get my associate's degree for code welding, I learned all the processes. So I was able to figure out, what would work best for which sculptures, or use them all at different times.
So were you an artist before this? Because these look very lifelike. Like they look like they could swim in the water with me, some of them. So what is your process like for getting them to be that lifelike?
I can't explain it. It's like pretty much just all up in my head. I have no blueprints. Yes, I did do a lot of painting before I started sculpting with metal, but that was, years and years ago.
Did you ever do any type of 3D type art, whether it be sculpture or clay making or anything like that?
Out of mud.
I mean, literally, how did your mug turn out?
I guess maybe when I was a little kid, I played with Play-Doh, but like who doesn't,
Wow.
or some sort of type of clay. But I never really got into doing any art in school. Like I'm not formally trained. I'm just, enjoying what I'm doing at home, and other people enjoy my work. So that's just kind of what powers the course.
Yeah. Is that a motivator for you in terms of people kind of enjoy what you've created?
Yeah, those that are my clients, yes, they enjoy my work. And then those that are like spectators that, cheer me on. So I love that.
Yeah.
So out of all of the projects that you've done, is there one that is a particular favorite or like a super challenge that you were able to overcome?
Oh, well, my blue heron is absolutely, beautiful. But also looking at it, you see there's like a million of little feathers that all had to be individually cut and shaped. So it's kind of like I look at it and I have PSTD because I'm going, oh my gosh, I have more feathers to cut out. I'm like not completely done with this. So, but that, is the challenge of making something with details that you have to continue through the process no matter how boring it is and no matter how many feathers you have to cut.
So you literally assembled like feather by feather? Wow.
I do, and most people ask me, like, why don't you have a CNC, plasma table and make it easier for you? I'm like, well, that just defeats the purpose of making, as an artist, like I'm making all these same parts, so I need to have them like individually with their own character. So one may be kind of like lopsided, or just all different shapes.
So doing something as intricate as a feather, are you using hand tools?
Well, I mean, it depends on like the feather. Like some feathers will require, the vein, or they're just way too small to actually do anything, and I'm just making a general shape just to represent what it's supposed to be. There are some people that do a lot of like work to each individual feather, but that's time consuming. Mm-hmm. And depending on how much time and how much money somebody's going to pay me, like that depends on the detail.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So, you'd mentioned the blue heron. The one I've seen recently is the cassowary.
Oh yeah, the danger chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like if I'm one of these people that knows a little bit about a lot, not a whole lot about anything, and it's like the world's most dangerous bird. Why does one? I never knew I wanted a sculpture of a cassowary until I saw yours. What was the motivation for that?
Well, I didn't pick the subject matter. My clients usually do. And so, my client in Australia, he's like, I want to have you make something that's unique, something that's different, and something you haven't done before. So we were going over like different things. I was like, well, how about an emu? And he's like, how about a cassowary? I was like, I like it. It's got a lot of colors. It's, scary. It's prehistoric looking. I mean, people are like, dinosaurs live when they look at that, videos and pictures. So,
wow. So you mentioned colors. Were you able, what type of colors were you able to incorporate into the sculpture?
Well, I haven't yet, but I will. Sometimes you can use like the bluing or heat tempered colors to get the desired shades and colors, but I'm actually going to be airbrushing. And so I'll probably do like a translucent black on the body for the pin-like feathers. And then up on the neck, it's like a brilliant blue, like a turquoise, like ocean blue. And then those wattles that hang down, that's cherry reds and kind of orangey, and then more black across the beak. And then it's kind of gold brown for the blade, that I call it a blade, the dinosaur head top. So
you're still working on it?
Oh yeah. Wow. It's there's a lot of welds.
Yeah,
a lot of welds, and those welds have to be cleaned before I paint. So it's going over and making sure I have it all complete and then cleaned up before I start putting paint on it and sealing it up.
Is that another example where you had to do like the feathers individually?
Yes, long individual welds, like long.
Or cassowary feathers like ostrich feathers?
I haven't compared to see if there's a difference between them, but
I've only seen an ostrich feather. I don't, but they are big, and they're kind of like a feather duster almost.
The ostrich feather, yes, they're plumes on the back.
Right.
Yeah, they're long and have other feathers that come off, but these cassowary feathers are like finger-like feathers or hair-like feather, which is very strange because I'm having to try to make that texture out of metal.
Wow.
So I'm going, well, how am I going to do that? I'm going to carve it, or I'm going to weld it, or, I'm going to layer it, just to get the right effect. And so I found that using a lot of low and slow MIG beads will create that depth and texture that I need.
Wow.
So, days and days of, I'm going to make more feathers. Again, more feathers. Yeah.
This sounds like a question for some fundraiser, but how many feathers on a cassowary did you make?
I have no idea.
More than 500?
Well, I mean, just probably on one side of it, maybe 500. But
no kidding.
Wow. And then you got to do the underneath part too. So, because in case somebody's laying down on the floor and decides to look up, you go, oh, they didn't finish that. That sucks.
How much do you study pictures of these animals before you start?
Yeah, that's when you make sculptures or art, they call it a study. So when you go to look up all your information for the subject matter, then you look at it all different angles and you're studying it. Hey, there's a dragonfly that just flew in here. Hello.
Oh, no kidding. It just ran into
I thought you were using that as an example of like, yes, I see a dragonfly.
And
I
here
look at
it came.
That's a good omen. Yeah.
Is it?
Have you done a dragonfly before?
I have, but nothing like more realistic. I would love to do another one, but larger. A friend of mine asked me a long time ago to make one, and I gave my best attempt. So sometimes you got to make something several times over, and then it evolves and it starts looking better.
Right.
Like you go look at your first sculpture and you go, oh, I was learning.
Yeah.
I was really learning.
Well, I can't believe a dragonfly drove through this
Came
episode.
in and say hello.
Yeah, no kidding. Griffin is getting.
He's gonna get
now
pictures.
capturing it on film.
So we can prove that there was a.
So you, the viewer,
Yeah.
or the listener,
there was.
knows it was actually here.
Right.
Because the numerous times we've interrupted to introduce mysterious, fake animals.
Like
Yeah.
a squirrel, right?
Yeah. We don't get a lot of wildlife that cuts through these recordings.
And they just come in there for the food, I guess. And the doors are open.
Guess so. Yeah.
Gareth usually has tater tots in his pocket. Maybe that's what the dragonfly.
Give me your tots.
So, is this the current project you're working on now?
Well, I have 3 projects going on at once.
Oh wow, is that normally the case?
No, it's not normal.
Oh wow.
It's actually kind of stressful.
Oh.
I would love to just focus on one sculpture and get it done, but as I'm painting up this guitar that's going to Nashville, it's going to hang on a chain link fence, I have started a sailfish while I'm still cleaning up the cassowary. And it's just like a shuffling, getting different things done at the same time. And it does get kind of stressed. And I'm like,
it's a lot of things looking at you.
Yeah. You're like, that needs to be done. And I'm so tired. I don't want to work on that one anymore. So I go over that one.
So now that you're doing this guitar, do you find that you're moving out of the animal area and kind of branching into different kind of objects now?
It all depends on what customers ask. I'll make anything within reason. I won't make anything that's ridiculous. There have my limits on things that I would make. And usually if I'm not going to make something, I have people, other friends that also make sculptures, and I throw them that way just in case, they want that job.
Is there an example of something you didn't want to do?
Yeah, recently somebody a previous client said he has a client that's asking for this sculpture from a painting, and it's like a cup and like a body that with a round head and these weird arms, and I'm like, I can't understand, what is this? What is this? And I said, I have a friend that's made something kind of close to that, and I had sent it his way, and he's like, same thing. What is this? Yeah, some people, they like what they like, and I have no problem with that. But I still, can I achieve what their vision is? And sometimes I wonder, if that's going to satisfy or they'll be disappointed.
Yeah. Do you see anything that you would like to attempt to do that you haven't been asked yet? You mentioned human forms earlier on. Do you think you're close to try to something like that, or?
Well, I've made a couple human forms, but ladies, like a mermaid and the butterfly lady.
Okay.
I saw a Betty Boop.
A what?
A Betty Boop sculpture.
Oh yeah, Betty Boop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her. She had the very large head.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people can't help.
She was fun. But there's a lot of pictures to look up for Betty Boop that were, easy, accessible.
Yeah.
And, but with human form, I could do it anytime. I'm supposed to make another mermaid in the future. I just don't know when he's ready. But for something that I want to make, I'm looking forward to making a racehorse. And I haven't made a full body horse yet. So when that happens, I'll be going to visit the racehorse farm close to me, and I'm going to put my hands all over those horses and measure them, make them feel real uncomfortable because I'm being invasive, trying to figure out, perspective.
So do you have a farm close to you?
Well, my husband has friends that have horses
okay.
they race horses.
Those are beautiful sculptures. I mean, horses are huge. In case you didn't know, horses are huge. Yeah.
Yes.
You kind of get taken aback by the sheer
One of the
size
many
of these
things you learn on the Fabricator Podcast.
I did. Yes, they're very large animals.
Well, the client for this racehorse, he's over in France, and I convinced him, let's just go ahead and do the small scale first, because he's asking for a full-size racehorse, like a 16 hand, racehorse, and I'm like, I'm excited about that. But I had to research other people that have made large sculptures like that on how they start their framing and maybe like making a base on wheels, tube framing, and that way I can put that horse and just move it around as I need it. So I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
And then I can ride it afterwards.
I was about to say, it's legit. You said, was it 16 hands? Is that what you said?
16 hand, yeah.
Wow.
Racehorses are pretty tall.
Yeah, but I don't even know, like, how big's a hand measurement? What is one hand? Size of one hand?
Yeah, well, not my hand. I got little hands. I got T-Rex
tiny
hands.
I don't know. That 16 hand horse would be like 24 Dan hands tall.
Yeah, it's not quite a Clydesdale, but those racehorses are very large.
So what do you use to like create your say like the body? Like more of a sheet metal type of form. Do you just kind of hammer it out by hand, English hammer, or?
Well, I do have the cold forming tools, from Bailey, the English wheel, planishing hammer, a shrinker stretcher, the mallet and sandbag. I've got those things. I use them. But then I also have my shop table underneath, which is called It Has Potential Scrap Drop Pile, and I will take pieces from there to add in wherever I need it, or, the wire frame and then the sheet metal across, or just continue to add in a bunch of round bar and fill in with the MIG and then knock it down with flap disc.
Oh, wow. Man, that's very intricate.
A lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Whichever I feel like doing that day.
Well, there's something to that, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that there was a community of like-minded individuals. Do you reach out to them as well to kind of help you with projects, or how do you get kind of past any challenges that you encounter?
Yes, that's the wonderful thing about this networking event that we go to FABTECH for, is that you get to meet all these metal nerds, and those are also a lot of artists mixed into the group. So we talk together and we learn from each other, which I don't try to keep secrets on how I make things. Some people are like, oh, you're just giving all your special ingredients away, and I'm like, well, I thought knowledge is supposed to be shared. So when we work together, we grow together, and we can also make beautiful things. So I like the networking events. Like, this is awesome.
So what else do you come to FABTECH in mind for? We had talked about shop. Like, what's your shop now? Like, what type of tools? You mentioned a pretty good working relationship with Lincoln Electric.
Oh, yeah. My shop has grown over the years. At first, it started out with just, in the dirt with a Lincoln pipeline welding, stick welder, to a tractor shed that was converted into my shop with a concrete floor. I was like, hey, I got concrete. And then it just some of the tools that I won from Skills USA, which I got a welding machine and a plasma cutter from them, and you can do a lot with just a MIG welder and a grinder and a table vise and some hammers. I mean, you could make a lot of real pretty stuff. You don't have to have anything fancy. Yeah. But over time, yes, there'd be a lot of things I would love to have, but is it practical? No.
Right. If money was no object?
Yeah. If you have anything, some of these things look like a lot of fun to play with, I saw that robot bartender over in the welding area.
Yeah. That'd come in handy in the shop.
He can go and make me some, something to drink while I'm finishing up my day,
Do you feel like you don't get a chance to do your own creative stuff nowadays?
Well,
or do you kind of, those creative juices get flowing working on some of these other projects?
Well, with any kind of sculpture from the commissions, they give me the artistic freedom of design. So that works out great, unless they're particular, I want it to stand, this way or that way. But most of the time I'm I'm able to decide on how it's going to look, which position. And so that gives me that artistic outlet. I don't even know if I would be able to pick out something that I would want to make because everybody keeps me so busy with different things.
Right.
So I'm definitely got a variety.
Yeah. So it's working for you. You enjoy it.
Yes, except for stingrays. I think I made like 35 stingrays already, and everybody's like, I want a stingray, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it with my eyes closed now.
Yeah.
They're getting pretty factory-like. Yeah.
They are stingrays.
Do you think that like the stingray is kind of like your staple that people recognize your work from?
It has been that you can make a lot of stingrays out of a 4x20 sheet of metal and make a pretty good profit. So yeah, I can turn them and burn them.
What was
Are you doing Christmas shopping right now, Garrett?
Yeah, right. I need like 40 right now.
40 stingrays in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
no.
right. Yeah. What was the first piece that you were commissioned for? And what was that process like?
Oh, yes, the mermaid. Yeah, the mermaid was my very first commission where somebody asked me to make something, and he thought that I would do well with making a mermaid. He's traveled overseas, and he saw the mermaid over in Scotland, the lady on the lake, the mermaid of the lake. I don't know. I forget the name of it.
I'm not aware of famous mermaid.
I'll look it up.
But there's a beautiful mermaid sculpture in Scotland. He's like showed me pictures and said that he'd like for me to do my idea of the sitting mermaid on the rock.
So what? Actually, I've never even thought to ask this question. What was the bottom half of the mermaid? Like cod? Did you study that one?
No.
Or did you just kind of made it fish-like?
Yeah, well, the tail was just like little TIG welds that I just little TIG buttons that I knocked down to create scales. I mean, that's where I say you can go back and look at a sculpture, and then you can see my evolution of my processes and different ways that I'm learning how to create the right textures. So that one was like little TIG buttons, and I knocked down, and from a distance you have that looks like scales, but you're close, you're like, oh, those are just little round dots.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to think, like sturgeon?
a sturgeon.
A sturgeon.
Garfish?
Yeah,
It's going nowhere fast.
That just-
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like fish that have big scales that would. Never thought to really think what the bottom half of a mermaid was. From a
I
fish
think
standpoint.
they all vary. Like some of them may have like shark type, skin.
I don't know if I've ever seen one like that. It's always been with like the big scales, like you see.
Huh.
In all those mermaid books
And the movies you've been watching? We are near Disney.
Yeah, I was about to say. This is to the point where we're supposed to self-edit, being that we're doing that at a trade show. Sorry for that offshoot of a conversation. You better take it from here.
He's turning red.
I'm rattled.
So with all of the designs, do you ever come partway through your process and think, I need to go in a different direction, or do you like backtrack and do anything different if it isn't going the way that you want it?
All the time. All the time. There's always that 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes when you're fabricating, especially when you have no blueprints, or you think that you want to put it in this one direction, but hey, you got too much top weight, now you have to compensate to balance it out, and things get changed. You're like, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to chop it off. So I love, cut off wheels, torches, all those things to help remove whatever mistakes I've made.
Yeah. Do you talk shop with your husband?
He tries to talk shop with me, and I shut him down.
You want to leave it back in the shop? You don't want to have that conversation
he
outside
has his
of it?
own shop. He doesn't need to be in mine. I call him the project manager because most of the time I'm making something, he goes, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, watch me. Like, I will make that. And I do. And he goes, I knew you could. I said, that's crap. You told me that you didn't think I could do that. So, yeah, he likes to somewhat try to egg me on to be, defiant and go and make
That's
something.
fun.
Yeah.
So
Put that fire under me.
Was kind of getting into welding, kind of proving to other people that you could do something that they thought you couldn't do?
Oh, no, not at all. But, at the same time, when they think that I can't, I definitely will.
Yeah. So you do get motivated by people who like maybe question whether you can do something.
Yeah, and I've had this one particular guy, I don't remember his name, but he was on my Instagram, and he decided that it was his place to tell me where my place was. And he said women do not belong in the welding business, and your place is in the kitchen, and you need to make me a sandwich. And I said, wow, thanks so much, but I'm okay with that. And I took that motivation of his telling me I need to make a sandwich, and I actually made a metal sandwich. And so now I don't ever have guys ask me to make them a sandwich or tell me that my place is in the kitchen, because I will make them something that is food related, and they can eat it if they like, but they're going to need dentures afterwards.
As my mom used to say, I'll tell you where to put that.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's making a point of you being in the kitchen. He's asking for a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of
it's
who
like
can't make a sandwich?
It's the go-to thing where people say, yeah, there's the sandwich.
See, that's not even. Yeah, the visual really does that justice.
I'm like, yeah,
Like
here.
literally, I was thinking like peanut
Eat
butter,
it and we-
like 2 Wonder Breads, but that's a legit like.
Roast
like a
beef,
piece of work.
onion, yeah. Well, people always tell me that the bread looks burnt, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's kind of like it's rusted, and I
So
use
each-
the patina. Huh?
Each item on the sandwich was individually made?
Different metal? No, it's all just mild steel. That's all hand painted, but when I painted it and then assembled it, so.
Wow. So I guess if you want those stingrays, Garrett,
Now he wants
you
a
should just
sandwich.
tell her she can't do stingrays.
Yeah,
She
right.
do
I
what do they
regret
call it?
saying
It's
that
got
now.
like a disc. It's not a disc track. It's a disc sculpture. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
All right. This 2 times now I've really just dragged it off the beaten path. Anyway, so do you have any like young women that come up to you like asking for advice when it comes to like welding or maybe doing something creative like you're doing?
Yes, I do have a lot of the students at the college level and high school level, the ladies, that they come forward to me and they say they love my work and they would love to ask me questions about how to go forward with certain things that they're making. And I said, anytime. Like, I'll be more than happy. And it's just not just the women. It's,
I was about to say, it's probably not
all
a fair
students.
question.
Yeah. But then I also get the fathers that, approach me and say, hey, I have a daughter and I would love to have her learn to weld by you, because I guess it's easier when you teach a kid that's not yours, because when you try to teach your own kid, they're like, I don't want to learn,
Yeah.
So they come up to me and ask me if I would, mentor them or have some classes, and I'm fine with that as long as they come during the winter where it's, because they're going to cover them up. I don't want them to get burned. And also they have all their own PPEs, because I don't like lending out my own personal stuff, because that's kind of icky.
Right.
Yeah. Sweaty stuff.
Yeah, I know. Did you find that your welding education worked out pretty well? And would you recommend like a similar path for other people, or does it depend?
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend that. If you're going to make metal art, you definitely need to go get the basics. You have to take these classes. People say, oh, you don't have to take classes to learn to weld. You can watch YouTube videos. Well, it's not the same. You go into a college or a trade school, you can learn hands-on, and they can say, hey, you really need to get closer to your material when you're welding. And when you get that right penetration and different aspects of the welding principles, then you can make your art more stable and safe, because you don't want your art to hurt other people.
Yeah, that's a negative.
So do you have any advice for young people that are interested in getting in this beyond the schooling that you would recommend for them?
I would say they just need to take it easy on themselves and not hope to have such high expectations in the very beginning. It's a process to become an artist, and you have to learn and grow. So don't think that you can't do art with just a few tools. You can do just a couple things like the MIG welder, some hand tools, and a bench vise. You don't need, whole equipment, filled shop. So just, be patient. Things will come and fold as they should.
I think that's pretty good advice, particularly for something that can tend to be a little tedious.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to the point where you are overnight, obviously.
Oh, no. You don't just start out, at first place right out of the gate. You just have to take some time, practice, and you just have to be patient. Keep trying over and over again. I think that's like the saying I had on my Instagram was, art is the sum of patience. Like you're constantly adding all this art together, but you have to be very patient during the whole process. Because believe me, like when I'm making my art, like I want to get to the end because I already see it in my head.
Yeah.
But it's like the steps that you have to get there. It takes time, and you're like, oh, I'm so tired of these feathers.
I think that I'm gonna come out of this with that saying. I'm tired of doing feathers.
Yes, because there's always too many of them.
I had no idea you're doing those individually. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is a large amount of patience.
That's what people have been saying. Like, I've got the patience of a, patience of a priest? No, not a priest.
Yeah, that's
a
actually,
saint.
what is a good?
Patience of a
that's
saint.
it, that's
something
it.
like that. And I'm like,
Martin
yeah,
Anderson.
what?
Anyway, so I feel like I want to commission you to do a tree so you can do like 1,000,000 leaves.
Do you want to be hurt?
That was lame. Sorry. What's a good example of a project that represents you doing a lot of different processes, welding processes, to make it kind of come to reality?
Size, detail, and size and detail. So the larger it is, the more I'll be able to add more detail. So then I'll be using more processes like TIG and a lot of plasma cutting. But the smaller is like, you think that you have these little intricate details like jewelry or something, but
Right.
I'm getting older and my eyesight's not getting that good.
No,
so,
I think that's
like I have to hold things out.
I think that's something that's not talked about in welding a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, eyes
We don't
change.
want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's
Our
it.
eyes are not going bad. No, they're not.
Yeah, I understand that. Particularly with eyesight, welders don't like to talk about that. And are there things that can help a welder who might be going through that, not necessarily you?
Oh, well, of course I am. Arm stretcher.
Well, just make your arms longer.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about. I don't blame them. Getting old sucks. It's not for wimps, but that's why you gotta share your knowledge with the youth and teach them. So by the time when you need to, have their hands help you, get through your work.
Yeah.
So on average, like how long does a project take to go from start to finish?
That's a very complicated question because there are some, like little stingray, 4 hours.
Okay.
Cassowary, I'm still not done. And then that's like 4 months. Or no, wait, 3 months. I think it's 3 months. Yeah.
Wow.
So it just varies. Size and detail.
Yeah. Any special requests that you hope somebody come through with?
Well, I think like a jellyfish would be good.
Wow.
Hey, there's a lot of pretty movement in one. It's very fluid.
Have you ever done
Different.
like a kinetic sculpture where it moves?
I'm just not that mechanically inclined to do something like that. I don't have those, how the gears work and which one's turning and, like...
Gotcha.
I'll just do the welding and the art.
There you go.
Static.
Garrett's still working on his Christmas list. You got any special
right.
requests you'd like to see in a...
He's like writing down. He's
in a
going
metal
through my
artist?
Instagram right now.
Just the stingrays.
Just
That's fine.
Stingrays.
Still 40?
Lots
No,
of them.
That's
Lots.
pretty solid order.
Well,
Do you have friends that could help out in case you're not able to deliver on the 40 stingrays?
Oh, no. Well,
So you feel like it's only your stingrays can be done by you?
I've seen other students and other people attempt to do the stingrays that I've made, and there's been one that's pretty close, and like, you almost got it.
There you go. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait for Christmas 2025.
That's all right.
I think the most amount of stingrays in one order was like 3, and the guy had put them up on the wall together. It is a group of 3, and that looks pretty good. Like, odd numbers always look good when it comes to art.
I think like those stingray like pools that either zoos or aquariums have, where they allow you to, which I can't think would be good for the stingrays. All these little grubby hands trying to touch them. I mean,
yeah.
I don't like it.
And the sharp, pointy corners and the long, pointy tail may be bad for kids.
I'm thinking metal stingrays are probably the way to go. Mm-hmm. That way you can touch them all you want. It's not going to do any environmental damage or any damage to the stingray.
Well, if the AWS trailer is here, I do believe one of my stingrays is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could view it if you want to see it.
Man, you ready to go to work? I thought this was more like a vacation trip for you.
This is a vacation trip. Oh, what do you mean?
I don't know.
Oh.
Did you come here? Do you view this as like a break from what you normally do?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's more like we all get together as a group of women. We're all going to the big fancy formal night, and then we go out to all the other events.
Oh, y'all do go to the AWS dinner, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We get our, formal dresses and do our hair and makeup.
I got you.
And then we take pictures afterwards.
Yeah. So vacation's the wrong word.
It's a good opportunity to meet with our our girlfriends and catch up, because we don't see each other. We all live in different states.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, this is like you'd mentioned. This is your 4th FABTECH.
yes.
Yeah. So it's become a
I
part
guess
of a
I'm-
regular kind of thing for you, right?
It has been, and I definitely plan my whole year around it, making sure that I will be going to FABTECH, because I love being here, and I love seeing the new students, the new welders that come in, and the new group, watching our group of ladies grow. As it gets bigger every year, there's more and more girls that want to show up and dress up and go have some fun.
So are you getting recognized at an event like this? Do you get recognized by other people, baby?
Well, if I was wearing my boots and jeans and not this outfit, like most of them will come up and like, "Hey, Sarah Stork, I see your art on Instagram," and so I see them. But today I'm like, I haven't really seen any because I've got this prairie skirt on.
She's incognito amongst all these fabricators.
I'm staying warm because it's cold in this building. Like, my hands are frozen.
Man, that's
hot
all about,
yesterday.
What's that?
It was like 80 degrees in here yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh. But it's actually warm in this booth, but this building was warm.
They didn't have the AC on yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. You guys were still like assembling, putting things together. But yeah, they have it cranking today. Like, it's freezing over in the welding building, like really bad.
No kid.
Yeah. I was like starting to shiver. I'm like, why am I shivering?
Maybe you need to start work on that stingray, get warmed up.
Right. Let me get in there and let's do some welding. I need to heat up. Some hot work helps.
Is there welding-proof prairie skirts? Is that part of the PPE?
All leather. Yeah, you can do the all leather skirt.
There you go. We have something to work on now. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find me on the Instagram under Sarah Stork. The complicated, Sarah _Stork _. And that's the same thing for TikTok. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. Just look me up under Sarah Stork.
Cool. That mermaid thing was really something I'd never thought about before.
Like, what kind of tail?
To
Which
the whole
fish
part,
is
like,
it?
I didn't think about it after this is done. Like,
The mermaid she was talking about was called Mermaid of the North in Scotland.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's the one that he had presented to me as a reference, asking if I could make that. So.
Mermaid of the North.
Mermaid of the North.
Is she like, what is she, sitting still? What are we doing?
Yeah, on a rock. Here, let me open up.
Oh, she's sitting on, I think I might have seen that before.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous mermaid sculptures.
Yeah.
I think Yeah.
Oh, wow. The rock looks like a baked potato. Mermaid of the baked potato. On that note, thank you much for joining us, Sarah Stork.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Fabricator Podcast. If you have any comments, complaints, criticisms, suggestions, please let us know.
No stingrays.
No request for stingrays.
Right, yeah.
I don't
Any
mind.
thoughts on mermaids and those?
Yeah.
If you send in a suggestion for the show, we will send you
Oh, no.
stickers.
We'll send you stickers.
We have stickers for our
Oh.
listeners.
I thought you said stingray. I was like, no.
No stingrays. You can send that to podcast@fmamfg.org. That's it. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Kolpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.